Empires usually roar onto the world stage. But Britain's began almost quietly, with a group of merchants meeting above a London tavern on a cold winter day. The year was 1600, and their goal was simple: break into the lucrative spice trade dominated by Portugal and the Netherlands. They called their new venture the East India Company, and none of them could have imagined that this company would one day command armies, topple kingdoms, and help build the largest empire in human history. 4 centuries earlier, England wasn't even a contender. In 1066, the island was conquered by the Normans, and in the following centuries, it faced Viking raids, famine, civil wars like the Wars of the Roses, and devastating plagues. Yet, from this turbulence came an unusual national character, a kingdom obsessed with ships, navigation, and the idea that the sea could be controlled, not feared. By the time Henry VIII expanded the Royal Navy in the early 1500s, England was beginning to turn outward. The real spark came in 1588, when English ships defeated the Spanish Armada, a moment that shifted the balance of power in Europe. Suddenly, Spain's dream of global dominance cracked, and English ambition surged. Colonies followed. In 1607, Jamestown was founded in North America. By 1620, the Pilgrims left for Plymouth. Throughout the 1600s, England expanded into the Caribbean, capturing islands like Barbados and Jamaica, transforming them into sugar-producing powerhouses brutally built on enslaved labor. But the empire's strangest chapter unfolded in India. Beginning with a small trading post in Surat in 1612, the East India Company skillfully integrated itself into the political landscape of South Asia. Its methods were nothing short of remarkable. By 1757, after the Battle of Plassey, the company defeated the Nawab of Bengal and effectively gained control of one of the richest regions on earth. A private company now ruled millions. By the early 1800s, the company's army was nearly 260,000 strong, twice the size of Britain's own. Still, success came with consequences. Across the Atlantic, Britain's 13 American colonies grew prosperous and increasingly rebellious. When taxes were imposed without representation, tensions snapped. The American Declaration of Independence in 1776 ignited a 7-year struggle. Britain ultimately lost in 1783. For many, this should have been the end of British global ambition. Instead, it was the beginning of something much bigger. Freed from the expensive American experiment, Britain turned toward Asia and Africa. The Industrial Revolution, beginning around 1760 and accelerating into the 1800s, gave Britain machines, steamships, telegraphs, and unmatched firepower. It built railways across India, over 4,000 miles of the, and by 1870, Britain had transformed Hong Kong, taken after the First Opium War in 1842, into a gateway for China trade. By 1815, after the defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo, Britain stood alone as the world's dominant superpower. Over the next century, the empire exploded across the globe. Canada became a self-governing dominion in 1867. Australia followed in 1901. In Africa, Britain claimed Egypt in 1882, carved out territories like Nigeria, and fought the Boer War, 1899 to 1902, in South Africa. Maps in Victorian classrooms were filled with crimson, and children were taught that the sun never sets on the British Empire. But cracks appeared beneath the red glow. In India, resentment simmered as British rule tightened. It erupted in 1857 when Indian soldiers rebelled against the East India Company in a violent uprising that nearly ejected the British from the subcontinent. When the rebellion was crushed, the company was dissolved. India became a formal part of the empire under Queen Victoria, proclaimed Empress of India in 1876. Yet the loyalty Britain demanded was far from guaranteed. Then came a catastrophe no empire could escape. In 1914, Europe plunged into World War I. Britain rallied the empire. Millions of troops came from India, Africa, the Caribbean, Australia, and Canada. The war was won in 1918, but at unbearable cost. Britain owed billions, lost nearly 1 million soldiers, and emerged weakened. Nationalist movements surged. In India, the tragic Amritsar massacre of 1919 galvanized the push for independence led by Gandhi and Nehru. Barely 2 decades later, an even greater disaster struck. In 1939, World War II erupted, and Britain again relied on its empire for survival. But while London fought for freedom, many subjects questioned why that freedom didn't extend to them. When the war ended in 1945, Britain was victorious, but broke. Its superpower status evaporated almost overnight. The withdrawal began where the empire was most prized. In 1947, India won independence. Pakistan was created, leading to a partition so chaotic that over 10 million people fled across new borders and nearly 1 million died in the violence. It was the beginning of an irreversible collapse. Across the next 2 decades, nations emerged one after another. Ghana in 1957, Nigeria in 1960, Jamaica in 1962, Kenya in 1963, and dozens more. Some transitions were peaceful, others were brutal. In the Mau Mau uprising, 1952 to 1960, in Kenya, the British response left deep scars that are still debated today. By 1997, when Britain handed Hong Kong back to China, the empire was, for all practical purposes, gone. What remained was the Commonwealth, a loose family of independent nations bound not by force, but by a shared and often complicated history. So, how does a rainy island rise to dominate a quarter of the globe? Through naval power, industrial might, relentless ambition, and the ability to profit from global trade on an unprecedented scale. And how does such an empire fall? Through economic strain, world wars it barely survived, and the unstoppable momentum of people demanding the right to govern themselves. The British Empire didn't collapse in a single day. It fell the way cliffs erode, slowly, then suddenly, leaving behind a coastline shaped forever by the tide. Languages, laws, borders, sports, and political systems around the world still carry its fingerprints. Some see them as foundations, others as scars. Whether admired, condemned, or simply studied, the rise and fall of the British Empire remains one of history's most extraordinary stories. A story of power gained, power abused, and ultimately, power surrendered.